Good afternoon and welcome aboard to the Mike Janocik Show, WLCR 1040 AM, Holy Family Radio. We're glad you're with us this afternoon on this cold, icy day in Louisville, Kentucky, and be careful out there, although the roads aren't nearly as bad as everyone thinks they are. I think a lot of people just want to stay home from work today, which I understand that, human nature. But anyway, be careful on your way home from work, and we are going to be talking about a couple of things today. Our first on board, we're really honored to have the first gentleman on board. I have read a couple of his books many years ago, and just a clear-headed thinker, and we were lucky to get him on the show today because we're going to be talking about something that's been, I don't know if I want to bias my guest with my remarks, but we're going to talk a little bit today about the philosophies of, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, of Ayn Rand. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but maybe he can fill us in. But we have with us at the first part of the show Dr. Donald DeMarco, and he is the Professor Emeritus of Philosophy at St. Jerome University in Waterloo, Ontario. He is a visiting scholar at Holy Apostles College and Seminary and a distinguished visiting teacher at I can't pronounce that one. I'm going to say Hyacinth College at Granby, Massachusetts. He's a faculty member at the Catholic Bible College of Canada, St. Joseph College. He is also a lecturer for the Sisters of Mercy Immaculate in Cambridge, Ontario. He is the author of 21 books, including How to Be Virtuous in a Not-So-Virtuous World. You know, we need to have him back on to do that book alone, Vince, but that sounds like a fabulous book. And he's authored several hundred articles in scholarly journals and in anthologies. And his education includes a B.S. from Stonehill College, master's degree in general science. The list is endless here. Trust me, we're in the high weeds. He has a Ph.D., and I'm really fascinated by his thesis, his Ph.D. thesis entitled "The Nature of the Relationship Between the Mathematical and the Beautiful in Music." And he is married with 5 children. We are honored to have on board Dr. Donald DeMarco. Dr. DeMarco, are you with us?
Yes, thank you very much. All of your pronunciations were correct, and you may add to my growing resume that I've appeared on the Mike Janocik Show.
Oh, no, please. This is Louisville, Kentucky. We're a small Catholic radio show, but we really, really are honored to have you aboard. I wanted to talk today of something that I've been seeing ever more. I'm kind of involved in politics. I do work for the Kentucky Right to Life Association, and by the way, and on an incidental note, you spoke to the Right to Life of Louisville Celebration of Life banquet many years ago, and I've heard many good things about not only that speech, but I understand you're a wonderful classical pianist.
Oh, goodness.
But we'll maybe have you back.
I remember being on Channel 6.
But I wanted to...
I had my first mint julep in Louisville.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
To me, that's a terrible waste of bourbon. I'll just be very honest with you.
Keep the glass. I still have the glass.
Well, keep the glass, throw away all that mint and stuff, and get some good bourbon because I think they've ruined the bourbon with the mint julep. Anyway, I wanted to have you on board today to talk a little bit. We have been noticing a resurgence of admiration for the philosopher Ayn Rand, and I wanted to have you on board to talk a little bit about this as to how we should think about this as Catholics, because frankly, and I think you'll get by the tenor of my discussion, I'm a little off-put by so many people that are seeking refuge or advice or direction or leadership in Ayn Rand. I think her, let me just do it this way. Tell us briefly why Ayn Rand is having a big resurgence in American, at least in American politics. I'm hearing more and more of my conservative Catholic friends just laud her with so much praise. And I understand she's a very brilliant woman, but tell us a little bit about Ayn Rand and what was her general philosophy and why it seems to be having a resurgence in America.
Well, I think you're right. I think there is a resurgence. Although there's never been much of a dip in her popularity, her books sell on average over 300,000 copies a year. All told, more than 20 million books of hers. She has written 13 books. Over 20 million have been sold. There's the Ayn Rand Society, Ayn Rand Institute, the Objectivist newsletter, which presents Ayn Rand's philosophy, advice on all aspects of life, and so forth. She's very influential in high schools and in what is called the anti-servitude programs. She's very much opposed to volunteerism. And so it's kind of interesting that you can qualify for your volunteer service by representing Ayn Rand's anti-volunteer.
That's interesting. I had never heard that. So she is philosophically opposed to volunteerism.
Well, if you want an encapsulated, brief description of the essence of her philosophy, it's this, and it's a little bit shocking, I suppose, but it's consistent with everything she says. Altruism is the root of all evil.
Wow, you're really making me even more jaded.
That's what she says. Altruism is the root of all evil. Of course, this is Christmas time, and it's interesting to think of Ayn Rand's strong opposition to giving Christmas presents to each other. She wrote a book called The Virtue of Selfishness, in which she disdains Christmas gift-giving, because when you give something to another person, you've reduced your individuality, and she's very much in favor of individuality. In terms of summing up her position, she was once asked if she could present the essence of her philosophy while standing on one foot, mm-hmm. And she complied. Metaphysics, objective reality, epistemology, reason, ethics, self-interest, politics, capitalism.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to kind of break that open a little bit. First off, objective reality. I think that's something Catholics would agree with.
Yes, she says that Aristotle is the greatest philosopher who ever lived because of his healthy regard for objective reality and the reality of each individual being. Mm-hmm. She says that she's the second greatest of all philosophers. She disagrees with Aristotle's ethics. She pays tribute to Aristotle in her massive book, Atlas Shrugged. She's got 3 sections in it, all taken from Aristotle's logic: non-contradiction, either or, and non-contradiction, either or, and A equals A.
Wow.
A equals A. So I am I, and you are you, and there is really nothing between us. And my obligation is to be a self-made man, and your obligation is to be a self-made man. And we achieve this through ice-cold logical reason. Mm-hmm. Money becomes very important. That's part of the Holy Trinity: individuality, rationality, and money.
So there's really, boy, we've got, I don't want to get to the nut of the question too early because we have quite a bit of ways to go in the segment, but there seems to be very little here with Ayn Rand that's compatible with traditional Catholic teaching.
Well, she's an atheist.
Right.
And a rather confirmed atheist. She says that there have been 3 periods of ethics. The first 2 were mystical, in which people surrendered to a non-existent God. Okay. And the second mystical period where they surrendered to a non-existent society. She says society doesn't exist, only individuals exist. And she's come along to solve the crisis by introducing the third great morality, self-interest and individuality. You live for yourself.
Yeah, that's kind of...
And this is what we find in her books. There's no distinction between what appears in her books and her own philosophy and how she lives. In fact, she says the consistent postscript to all of my novels is this, and I mean it. she in Atlas Shrugged, which is a fairly lengthy novel, mm-hmm. on page 1084, she has her hero, who lives for himself, John Galt, raise his hand over the desolate earth and trace in space the sign of the dollar. It's kind of like a parody of the Pope. Instead of the Pope blessing people by making a sign of the cross, you have John Galt making a sign of the dollar sign. Ayn Rand made provision that a 6-foot dollar sign would grace her casket.
Wow.